Thank you for coming on T&G.
My pleasure.
You succeed Arlene Foster as DUP leader on Friday this coming, but interestingly, not as First Minister. You've chosen not to become First Minister of Northern Ireland and just remain party leader. Can I ask you why that is?
My focus is ensuring that the party is in as strong a position as possible as we advance to a future election, which is 10 months away. So there's a lot of work to be done in building the party and ensuring that it will come out as the lead party in Northern Ireland once again. That is entirely achievable, and that's a course of work that I want to focus on. And therefore, I want the individual who will actually be leading the country as First Minister to have their time focused on that particular piece of work, because I think at this moment in time, it is too important for one person to do both important jobs.
Okay, that's a good answer. I can understand that. But does it not put up a problem, which is that the UK or Irish government, whoever it is who wants to talk to the leaders of Northern Ireland, aren't really sure who they're actually dealing with, who's wearing the trousers, so to speak? Where is the power? Is it with the First Minister, or is it going to be with you?
Well, it's a team, and it'll be a team effort, and we will be Team DUP going forward. Ultimately, the power rests with the leader, because the leader appoints the First Minister, and I will be the person who will be the go-to person for the leaders of governance in other places. I should say that the relationships between us and the Irish government are particularly poor at this point. And I noted your description at the outset that I was a hardliner, but I'm also an individual who has a fair degree of pragmatism, and that's necessary. And that was exemplified when I was health minister. So we provided a cancer unit in Londonderry, which serves the people of Donegal, and that was a good demonstration of how we can work north-south. The same happened whenever we needed to have paediatric cardiac care, and Northern Ireland wasn't large enough to provide its own surgery service. That's being done in Dublin. Those things happened under my watch, north-south, because those things are good. But currently, the relationships between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland are awful, and that is largely as a consequence of Leo Varadkar's threat that there would potentially be violence if there was a border in the island of Ireland. We're entirely opposed to a border in the island of Ireland, but the fact that they went out there and used the threat of violence to encourage the European Union to go down a particular line was hugely unfortunate, and it has led to very bad relationships.
Okay, I don't think you would take hardliner as a description as an insult. I don't think you reject it either. Tell me if I've got that wrong. But there is some anger amongst some moderates in the party, if I can put it like that, if you don't mind that terminology. They say the move against Arlene Foster was, and I quote, a political assassination. And also they warn there will be a price to pay at the polls for that, effectively, by abandoning the more moderate centre ground, by going to the harder liner end of your party, perhaps. You risk losing your majority in Stormont because you're alienating those crucial floating voters.
I think that what we can do to ensure that we get those floating voters is to demonstrate that we are effective in governance. And that is the key thing that people want to see. They want to see a good education service. They want to see a good health service. They want to see a planned recovery from COVID, and therefore a planned recovery of the Northern Ireland economy. And those are things which we intend to demonstrate very clearly to the public that they will get quality leadership on. And therefore, people will support us on that basis. And I believe that we will not be veering to the right or to the left. We'll simply be broadening the path that the Democratic Unionist Party is on and be winning votes from the right and the left.
Okay, the Belfast Telegraph had a pretty grim poll for you yesterday. You'll be aware of it. It said the DP is now down to just 16% of support. This is a week after your election. It puts Sinn Féin on 25%, comfortably in the lead now as we look down the barrel of those Northern Ireland Assembly elections next year. And your personal ratings in this poll, 62% of those surveyed called you either bad or awful. What do you take from those numbers?
Well, in terms of the 16%, the poll was actually gathered on the week that I was elected. So it's a reflection of where the party was and not where it is or will be under my leadership. In terms of the 62%, I think if the DUP again 38% in the polls, that would be its best success ever. Northern Ireland is a very diverse place. There is a lot of people who have fixed positions on the other political parties. So I don't expect Sinn Féin, SDLP and Alliance voters to be singing my praises. So I take heart from the fact that 38% of the population in Northern Ireland are supportive. I think that will grow over the time of my leadership, and when people can see what I'm about.
Okay, that is a wonderful way of seeing the grass half full. I credit you with your positivity.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to the really important issue facing the entirety of the province, and that's, of course, the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, you are adamantly opposed to it. You'd like it to be scrapped. But may I just ask you, is there any reform to the protocol that you would accept to fix it, or is it just total eradication that you're after?
The fundamental problem with the protocol is in its design. So rules that were used in terms of the European Union were used in relation to how the accession countries joined the European Union. So the application of those rules in the internal market of the United Kingdom have kicked in. And remarkably enough, we are going to be expected to carry out something like 15,000 checks per week on food coming into Northern Ireland. Now, that is a greater number of checks than the checks that take place in the Port of Rotterdam, for example. It's a greater number of checks than all of the checks that take place on the eastern side of the European Union. So anybody suggesting that this is reasonable or that this is rational cannot actually stack that up, because why is this internal market within the United Kingdom between Great Britain and Northern Ireland at more risk than the market between all of the eastern part of the European Union, Russia, Ukraine, Moldova, all of those countries that European Union is importing from? Why are they less risky than Great Britain? My view is that Great Britain's standards are the same standards as the European Union as things stand now. So all of these checks are entirely futile. They're a waste of money. They're a waste of time. We don't have the staff to actually do this job. The number of vets that are required are non-existent. It takes 5 years to train vets. There's already a shortage of vets in the United Kingdom. So what I am saying, and saying very clearly, it is not practical and it is not possible. So we need to go back to the drawing board. And I believe that there are solutions. I am all up for the protection of the single market.
So just solutions to the protocol, or the solution is scrapping the protocol?
Solutions to the problem. The problem is that we don't want a border on the island of Ireland. That is very clear. I want to facilitate everybody else in that and not create a border in the island of Ireland. I also want to facilitate the European Union in protecting its single market. So it's very simple to me. The goods that come into Northern Ireland within the United Kingdom are not a threat to the single market. The goods that travel through Northern Ireland to the European Union are. So we need to ensure that those goods that travel through Northern Ireland have a check in place. That check doesn't have to be at the border in Uri. The check can be elsewhere, but it is nominal numbers of checks that are required, because not that many goods that go to the European Union travel from Great Britain through Northern Ireland. But we will be very keen to ensure that those goods that do are checked for the standards that the European Union require. The goods that remain in Northern Ireland that are being sold in your Sainsbury's, your Tesco's, and your local convenience stores should not be going through those checks. Animals which have been sold back and forward between Scotland and the north of England and Northern Ireland should not have to go through the checks that they're currently going through. We have all of those traceability measures in place. Guide dogs, for example, which are trained in Scotland and come back to Northern Ireland, we need that opened up. The people who have disabilities are not suffering as a consequence of this protocol.
Understood. Let me put one potential solution to you, which is being proposed by the European Union. Actually has some backing in the UK and the British government as well, although not, it would appear, with Lord Frost. And that's to accept some sort of phytosanitary alignment, some alignment on agriculture food checks with the EU. So if we harmonise standards, we don't have to follow all theirs. It doesn't have to be dynamic. But if we follow some rough shared code on SPS, on agri-food, then that would do away with a vast amount of the need for any of these border checks east-west at all. Would you be interested in going down that route?
I corresponded last June with Minister Eustace to that effect, for that possibility to be looked at. And it is one of the potential solutions. The other potential solutions is that checks are carried out on goods which are not staying in Northern Ireland, and that has no impact whatsoever on Northern Ireland in that respect. It's no impact on the internal market, but it does help ensure that the single market is protected. There are solutions there. I believe that this decision, the protocol that has came about, was politically motivated, was politically driven, particularly by the Irish government. They wanted to create barriers between Northern Ireland and Great Britain for political purposes. That it bears no good for the internal market. It does nothing to protect the European Union's single market, and therefore we have to challenge this and we have to overturn it, because it is to the detriment of every single consumer in Northern Ireland, whether they consider themselves Irish or British, because the cost of goods will go up. There's already many goods that are not available in Northern Ireland, so whether it's your Amazon parcels to your paracetamol in your cupboard, it's affecting all of those things. And most shockingly, 98% of medical devices and medical products used in Northern Ireland comes from Great Britain. When that grace period ends, all of the algorithms that the Northern Ireland government has is demonstrating that medical devices and medical products are all in the red zone. And therefore, is the European Union seriously going to damage the health service in Northern Ireland and drive up costs to some of the lowest paid workers anywhere in the United Kingdom?
Okay, I understand your criticisms of the protocol. You made those very clear. My next question, though, is what are you going to do about it if the British government says, we hear you, but I'm afraid we're just not going to listen to you. We're going to deal with some sort of agreement to keep the protocol in place and keep those checks in place. As Agriculture Minister, you gave the order to officials to stop carrying out border checks because you said they were getting at risk of certainly intimidation. Is non-compliance with the UK's government instructions to you to carry out those checks in Belfast or Larne or wherever the goods arrive, is non-compliance an option for you going forward if you can't get what you want out of the UK government?
Well, there's a number of things. First of all, we want to use the force of political argument. And I think it's demonstrable this morning that the arguments are very clear and very convincing. And I believe that they are having significant impact within the UK government, and that there is a lot of listening happening, and I'm heartened by that. We're also looking to the legal remedies, and I have consulted with a senior counsel based in London on this. There's a course of work going on. I would hope to lead a challenge from a number of departments, health, economy, and indeed my own department of agriculture and environment on this issue. And those areas will be sought first. Should we be put back into the corner, then the other one is a last resort, and it's something that we will have to consider.
Non-compliance.
Absolutely. In fact, the problem with non-compliance is I think that we cannot comply. We cannot get the staff, the vets are not available anywhere in the United Kingdom to actually enable us to comply with what is being asked of us. The problem with the protocol is that it is undeliverable. And I think that people in the European Union need to waken up to it. I think the UK government have woken up to it, but the European Union need to reflect this is not the tool that we need to ensure the integrity of the single market. And the individuals, both in the UK government and Northern Ireland government, want to help the European Union protect their single market.
Okay. The Loyalist Communities Council, which is, as you know, an umbrella body for loyalist paramilitary groups, the UDA, the LVF, etc., they said this week that violence cannot be taken off the table if the current standoff over the protocol continues. Do you wholly reject that suggestion from the LCC that this may and possibly legitimately lead to violence on the streets again?
Well, you see, regrettably, that is just a repetition of what was said by nationalist politicians and indeed the Irish government, who used photographs of border posts that have been blown up during the Troubles by the IRA to convince the European Union to do what they sought them to do. And therefore, that language is not new language that has been used. Unfortunately, it's been used by the Irish government. Therefore,
but what's your position?
That is why
what is your position on the threat of violence made by the Loyalist Communities Council? Surely you have to distance yourself with that.
I'm wholly opposed to violence in all its forms. And everything that I do will be to seek to ensure that that does not happen. Therefore, it is incumbent upon people to listen to politicians like myself who are indicating there are solutions to this problem. There is a way out of this problem. We need to work our way through it, as opposed to ignoring it and then, us ending up in circumstances where others take over. We cannot allow that to happen. It would be an absolute criminal shame on the European Union to drive a coach and horses through the Belfast Agreement to the point where they cause violence in the streets of Northern Ireland. And I will do everything in my power to stop that happening.
Okay, Mr. Poots, your personal views have raised some attention here in London. Perhaps a slightly different political climate than Northern Ireland. And can I just ask you about one or two of them? You're a young Earth creationist, I believe, and you've said that you thought the Earth was created only 4,000 years ago. Why is that, if I may ask?
I'm someone who believes in God and believes in God's creation. I don't know what age the Earth is. I think that figure you've quoted is wrong, but I don't know what age the Earth is, and I'm not sure that others do.
Well, you've said 4,000 years in an interview previously. I think that was your figure.
I don't think that's absolutely correct. But in any event, what I am saying is that I believe in God. I have a Christian faith, and that has seriously no impact on the day-to-day issues that I'm dealing with. I deal with education, health. Currently, I'm looking after agriculture and the environment. And in all of those jobs, I have taken my work in a very serious way and ensured that we have delivered in every department that I have ever worked in for all of the people of Northern Ireland, irrespective of their background. And, what my views are in terms of my Christian views, I don't mind expressing them, but I don't believe that they'd be challenged in a way that perhaps some others haven't been challenged. So if I was a Muslim who was taking leadership of a party in Northern Ireland, would my belief in the Quran be something which is challenged in the media? So, I don't think Christians should be driven off the public square. Britain is supposed to be a Christian country, and therefore it shouldn't be too major a shock that a leader of a political party has a Christian faith.
Okay, let me ask you about one more view that you might or might not hold, because this does have effect on actual policy. Can I ask, is there anything wrong with being gay?
People are what people are, and I respect what people are, and I will work with those people, and I work for those people, irrespective of their diverse backgrounds. So, I don't care what colour people are. I don't care what sexuality people are. I don't care how people live their lives. That is for them. They have to live their lives. I live mine. I will work for each and every citizen in Northern Ireland, irrespective of their sexuality, irrespective of the colour of their skin, irrespective of their faith, whatever it happens to be. Everybody has their individual rights, and I respect that.
Okay, that I understand. In which case, if there's nothing wrong with being gay, which I think is what you just said, why wouldn't you allow gay people to give blood?
Well, that was a policy that was throughout the entire United Kingdom. So in case people weren't aware, if you go back to the 1980s, there was a policy brought in the United Kingdom because of the issues with HIV and the potential of that spreading through blood transfusion. That actually did transpire to be a major problem, and we have a public inquiry that's taking place right across the United Kingdom in terms of the blood that was given, and in particularly the impact that it had on people who had haemophilia. Northern Ireland was in a slightly different position than the rest of the UK, in that we didn't have the same problems with blood donation as other parts of the United Kingdom, and therefore we didn't move at the same time as the rest of the UK. But it's something that we were content to move on. However, some people decided to move to law first, and that actually held the thing back. But it was something that we weren't discontent to do, but we just did not need to move as quickly as the rest of the UK whenever they made that switch.